taking my time, taking all of your time, taking all of your time.
Hey, my trendies, trendsetters, and my trendy tribe. Mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me double check. And I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you for the cash outs for the documents. I really appreciate it because y'all, when I tell you I'm trying to play catch up, I'm trying to play catch up. Okay, so let me say thank you really fast to. I'm just gonna say your first name. Thank you, LaDonna. And thank you, Soundcheck Annette. I appreciate y'all. Let's pop the trunk early and then we're gonna get into it. All right, we going.
All right, we going. What a money reside. What a money reside. What a money reside. What a money reside.
All right. Okay. Real quick greetings. We got Hey Hill 75 first in the building. My big sis Peaches and Cream. Hey VG, Soundcheck Annette, Paper Chase 22, Essie Thompson, Gwen Nelson, Regina B. Thank you so much for being here. Hey American Born. Yes, this whole today and tomorrow, I'm telling y'all, I'm gonna try to be done by early afternoon tomorrow. Hopefully. We'll see. So I can actually rest up before I start my work week Monday. But I'm here, American born. Hey, Regina B. Let me see, Lady C. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. I just want to refresh your memories on a couple of dates, and I definitely reviewed this already in a different video. So hold on, did this finish? I think it finished. Okay, yeah. I reviewed this in depth on a different video, but I just want to refresh your date so we can be, chronological order for this one. But January 11th, 2024 is when the the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, Atlanta, filed this denying Simon his citizenship. Okay, so January 11th, 2024. Then Simon was sued, or the complaint was filed against Simon by NetJet Sales on January 26th, 2024. Okay, so just wanted to give y'all those dates. So then when we look at Porsha's petition for divorce was on 222, February 22nd, 2024 at 7:53 p.m. So just, okay, so we're on the same page. Let me get my banner up. Again, thank you. These documents are sponsored by the Trendies. So I appreciate the cash outs. Thank you so, so much. All right. So we're going to get into a few things. First of all, obviously Porsha's complaint for divorce, but there were also 2 affidavits filed, I think in favor of Simon. There is the emergency relief when Porsha couldn't get into the house. So we have a few things to go over. So this one will be a slightly longer one, and let's just get straight into it. So this is Porsha's complaint for divorce and other relief. Comes now petitioner Porsha Diane Williams' wife, by and through her counsel of record, Randall M. Kessler of Kessler and Solomiyani, and files this, her complaint for divorce and other relief, as follows. Wife has been a resident of the state of Georgia for 6 months prior to the date of filing of this complaint. Respondent, Simon Iore Guabadia. Y'all, I keep wanting to call him Igor. Every time I see Iore, I want to call Simon Igor. Husband is subject to the jurisdiction and venue of this court. In the event that husband does not acknowledge service of this action, service will be perfected as allowed by law. Wife and husband were lawfully married on or about November 25th, 2022, and are currently living in a bona fide state of separation. There are no minor children born as issue of this marriage, and none are expected. Wife is entitled to a divorce from husband on the grounds that the marriage is irretrievably broken, and there are no prospects for a reconciliation. Further, wife is entitled to a total divorce in terms of law from husband. Wife reserves her right to add additional grounds for divorce as permitted by law. Wife shows that husband and wife entered into a prenup agreement dated November 17th, 2022, which sets forth each party's separate property interest and marital property interest. Wife requests that said prenup be enforced by this court and be made a part of this court's final judgment and decree of divorce. Wife shows that OCGA provides as follows with regard to the transferring or disposition of property. After a petition for divorce has been filed, no transfer of property by either party except a bona fide transfer in payment of pre-existing debts shall pass title so as to avoid the vesting thereof according to the final verdict of the jury in the case. Further, husband is bound by the provisions of OCGA, which provide as follows with respect to the transferring or disposition of property. Pending the final determination by the court of the right of either party to alimony, neither party shall make any substantial change in the assets of the party's estate except in the course of ordinary business affairs and except for bona fide transfers for value. Wife insists that husband comply with the foregoing statute in all respects. Husband is put on notice of not only the state of Georgia, but also on notice of wife's intent to insist on full and absolute compliance by husband. Wife hereby places husband on notice of the following important provision regarding spoliation of evidence. You are hereby notified that Georgia law requires you to exercise reasonable care to protect and preserve evidence relevant to the issues in this case action. By this notice, you are hereby given notice not to destroy, conceal, or alter any video, audio, paper, or electronic files or other data in connection with this pending litigation, including but not limited to any of the following items that are presently in your possession or control, or which may come into your possession while this case is ongoing. Any financial records or statements, all income records, tax records, expense records, recordings, or evidence reflecting relevant conduct by either party, any item that supports any defense raised by you to this complaint, and or any item which supports any claim by you in any counterclaim or pleading filed in this matter. You are further notified that a failure to comply with this notice may result in sanctions for any destruction or failures to preserve any such evidence, including without limitation, adverse inferences against you at trial, as well as award of expenses and attorney's fees necessitate. Proof of such conduct will raise a rebuttable presumption against Montgomery that the evidence favored Lane. Oh, I'm sorry. They're citing the cases. Sorry, they're citing cases that showed precedence. Okay. Wife is hopeful the parties will reach an agreement settling all issues pending between them. However, if such an agreement cannot be reached, wife reserves the right to amend this complaint accordingly. Wife requests that the court incorporate any settlement agreement entered by the parties into a final judgment and decree of divorce. Wife has been forced to expend attorney's fees in connection with the filing and prosecution of this complaint for divorce, and shows that husband should be ordered to pay her reasonable attorney's fees and expenses of litigation incurred in connection with this action on a temporary and final basis. Wherefore, wife respectfully requests that process issue and the husband be served with a copy of the summons and complaint for divorce and other relief as allowed by law, that the court issue a standing order, that wife be granted a total divorce upon legal principles, that is, a divorce a vinculo matrimony, that the prenuptial agreement entered by the parties on November 17, 2022 be enforced by the court and made a part of any final agreement in this matter, that wife be awarded an equitable division of the marital property and debts, if any, and that she be awarded her separate non-marital property, that wife be awarded such other and further relief as this court deems just and equitable, respectfully submitted this 22nd day of February 2024. I think it's very interesting, and I'm not saying it's not normal, but it's very interesting that, and you'll see, Porsha's like, keep that prenup, and the prenup was actually drafted by Simon's legal team, so that's just interesting to me. Okay, hold on, y'all got a yawn. Oh my gosh. Goodness. Okay. Request for immediate and emergency relief. So 1 month later, so that divorce petition was filed by Porsha February 22nd, 2024. This request for immediate and emergency relief was filed March 22nd, 2024. It says, comes now Porsha Diane Williams, petitioner in the above styled case. Respectfully showing this honorable court as follows. Wife seeks immediate and emergency relief to address husband's actions of improperly and impermissibly removing wife from the marital residence, contrary to the parties' prenup agreement and contrary to Georgia law. Even though husband is apparently out of the country in Dubai, he has changed the locks and the garage codes multiple times to thwart wife's attempts to access her home, seemingly to simply be vindictive and retaliatory for wanting to divorce him. Gwen, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Let me pop the trunk real fast. Thank you.
All right, we going. What a money reside. What a money reside. What a money reside. What a money reside.
I appreciate it, Gwen. Thank you so much. Okay, it says wife seeks immediate and emergency. Oh, hold on. Did I already read that? Yep, let me scroll down. The parties have occupied the marital residence since prior to getting married on or about November 25th, 2022. The parties' prenup dated November 11th, 2022, which was drafted by husband's counsel in relevant part, provides, upon an event of dissolution, Porsha shall have the right to remain in and occupy the marital residence, including up to the date the marital residence is sold, if the marital residence is sold. Upon the event of dissolution, Simon shall physically vacate, i.e., cease living in the marital residence within 30 days. Provided, however, Simon shall be permitted to leave his personal property, example vehicles, in the marital residence for a period of up to 6 months from the event of dissolution. The agreement further provides that an event of dissolution shall be deemed to have occurred upon either party commencing through the filing with any clerk of any court a proceeding for divorce, separate maintenance, annulment, or other action seeking dissolution of the party's marriage. Accordingly, pursuant to the terms of the agreement, an event of dissolution occurred on February 22nd, 2024, when wife filed her complaint for divorce, which would thereby require that husband physically vacate the marital residence by March 22nd, 2024. On March 15th, 2024, husband sent correspondence to wife wherein husband advised he had no intention to contest the enforceability of the prenup agreement, that he expected strict compliance, and acknowledged husband's need to vacate the marital residence by March 22nd, 2024. Husband requested an extension to vacate the marital residence by March 31st, 2024, and a response from wife by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. On March 19, 2024, wife's counsel sent correspondence to husband's counsel advising that wife declined the partial offer of settlement and that she expected full compliance by husband, which would include husband's relocation from the marital residence by Friday, March 22nd, 2024. On March 21st, 2024, wife learned that husband disabled her access to the gate of the marital residence by effectively blocking her ability to access her own residence. Wife's counsel attempted to immediately resolve the situation with husband's counsel. However, those attempts were unsuccessful. Wife was able to contract a separate company to restore her access. Shortly after regaining access to the marital residence, husband disabled wife's access to the residence, changed the locks, and changed the garage code almost immediately after wife left the residence. Wife's counsel again attempted to resolve the matter with husband's counsel and learned that husband retained new counsel. Wife's counsel attempted to make husband's counsel aware of husband's actions, only to receive correspondence justifying husband's actions and directly contradicting previous correspondence sent by husband's counsel, in direct violation of the terms of the parties' prenup agreement, and despite having already previously acknowledged his need to vacate the marital residence. Husband's new counsel advised as follows. Mr. Guabadia intends to maintain the status quo and continue to occupy the marital residence with his children until such time that the parties have resolved the issues in this case and there is a court order regarding the same. As such, Mr. Guabadia will not vacate the property on March 22nd, 2024. Husband's actions have resulted in wife and wife's minor child being displaced from their residence and appears to be in retaliation for wife's decision to pursue the instant divorce action. Wife respectfully requests that this court award wife immediate exclusive possession of the marital residence given husband's erratic conduct, including disabling wife's access to marital residence twice, and the terms explicitly outlined within the parties' prenup. Wife further shows that husband appears to have fled the country to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and it is unknown when or whether he intends to return. Wherefore, wife prays that the prayers in her request for immediate and emergency relief be granted, that wife be granted exclusive use and possession of the marital residence, and that she be granted such other relief as this court deems just and equitable under the circumstances. Respectfully submitted, this the 22nd day of March 2024. Young Black Economist says, free her. Let me see. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Whispering Moment said, Porsha needs to leave that man's house and go back to her own house. I don't think this is just his house, Whispering Moments. That's the thing. Now, I don't know if this is about to talk about who actually purchased the house, but this is the house that they procured while they were married, from my understanding. And I'm sorry, with Simon being the scanner, his money is funny in my opinion. It just is. And I am not really a Porsha fan. I'm Team Twirl, but the only one that I go 100% hard for is Melody Cherie. So I be leaving room for stuff. But in this one, because Simon's the ultimate scanner, in my opinion, I just say he gotta go. He gotta go. Okay, this is Simon's answer to and his defense to Porsha's petition for divorce, as well as his counterclaim for divorce. It says, comes now, Simon Iore Guabadia, respondent in the above styled action and hereby files this answer, defenses, and counterclaim for divorce against petitioner Porsha Diane Williams, and asserts the following defenses in response to the complaint for divorce and other relief with like-numbered paragraphs as follows. Affirmative defenses. Petitioner fails to state a claim upon which relief may be granted. Answer. Respondent admits paragraph 1 of the complaint for divorce and other relief that states wife has been a resident of the state of Georgia for 6 months prior to the date of the filing of this complaint. Respondent admits paragraph 2 of the complaint for divorce and other relief regarding jurisdiction and venue. Respondent further states that he did not flee the U.S. as he has voluntarily signed an acknowledgement of service and process, which was signed and notarized by Georgia Notary Public in the state of Georgia. The acknowledgement of service and process was filed with this court on or about March 5th, 2024. By filing the acknowledgement of service and process, the petitioner wife did not have to use the sheriff's office or private process office server to formally serve the divorce papers upon the husband. Respondent admits in part and denies in part the allegations of paragraphs 3 of the complaint for divorce and other relief. The petitioner states the incorrect marriage date in her complaint. Respondent further responds that the party's actual marriage date, as shown on their marriage certificate, is November 26, 2022. Respondent admits that as of the filing of his answer, the parties are currently living in a bona fide state of separation as defined under Georgia law. Respondent admits there are no minor children born as issue of this marriage and none are expected. Although the respondent was blindsided by the filing of this divorce action, respondent admits that as of the filing of his answer, the marriage is now irretrievably broken with no hope for reconciliation, as stated in paragraph 5 of the complaint for divorce and other relief. Respondent admits that the parties signed a prenup agreement dated November 17, 2022. Just a few days before their wedding. Respondent denies the remaining allegations contained in paragraph 6 of the complaint for divorce and other relief. Respondent states that additional information is needed to determine the validity of the prenup. That's interesting. He wants to determine the validity of the prenup, but his counsel apparently drafted the prenup, not hers. The interpretation of the prenup, the circumstances under which the parties entered into the contract, the parties' intent, the conscionability of the prenup, and the enforceability of the prenup agreement. So basically, since it was done a week before the wedding, I do understand that he wants to examine Porsha's intent for the prenup, but again, his counsel drafted it, so your counsel is supposed to have your best interest, so you kind of should have been doing that when it was your counsel in charge of drafting the prenup. Paragraph 7 of the complaint for divorce states a conclusion of law and thus does not call for admission or denial. Paragraph 8 states a conclusion of law and thus does not call for admission or denial. Paragraph 9 does not contain an allegation and thus does not call for an admission or denial. To the extent a response is required, respondent denies paragraph 9. Paragraph 10 does not contain an allegation and thus does not call for an admission or denial. Paragraph 11 does not contain an allegation and thus does not call for an admission or denial. Prior to the submission of this answer, respondent husband has made good faith attempts through the attorneys to privately resolve the issues in this divorce amicably with petitioner wife to no avail. Respondent denies paragraph 12 and states that the petitioner should pay her own attorney's fees and she has the ability to pay and hire her own attorney as evidenced by her commencement of this action. Unless there's something that deviates from the norm, I would say if you're the one filing for divorce, and there's nothing like, especially your initial filing for divorce, I would think you do have to pay your own attorney's fees. American Born said, I hope he didn't pull some shady stuff with that prenup. Well, Porsha wants the full prenup enforced. That's what's crazy. She's like, please, in the final divorce decree, please enforce the prenup that was drafted by his attorneys. So for her, most of it must be in her favor. Wherefore, respondent denies the prayer for relief in its entirety, as stated in petitioner's complaint for divorce and other relief, and requests that the court denies the same. In addition, to the extent any statements in the complaint for divorce and other relief remain unanswered, respondent hereby denies same. The counterclaim for divorce. Count 1, grounds for divorce. The respondent husband has a permanent resident card which allows him to live and work permanently in the United States. Respondent has maintained this legal status for 34 years now since 1990 and is not at risk of deportation. Respondent is a resident of Fulton County, Georgia, and has met the 6 months residency requirements under OCGA to bring this counterclaim for divorce. Now, his residency, those things, again, we did go over that with his citizenship, so that's interesting. That's for the other court to decide. Let's see. As required by Georgia divorce law, the parties are currently separated and living in a bona fide state of separation. Petitioner and respondent can no longer live together as husband and wife, and there is no hope for reconciliation. The respondent is entitled to a divorce from the petitioner on the statutory grounds that the marriage between the parties is irretrievably broken. Respondent reserves the right to amend his statutory grounds for divorce. Count 2, division of property. Respondent reasserts the aforementioned paragraphs as if fully stated herein. The respondent purchased the marital residence prior to the parties' marriage solely from the husband's personal and separate monies. All right, whispering. Where's whispering moments? Because they did say whispering moments said Porsha needs to leave the house and go back to her own house. So now, if it's enforced with a prenup, Porsha gets to stay. But like I said, I wasn't sure about who bought that house. So he's claiming he bought it with his own money. I'm sure that may get answered, re-answered, contested, or whatever. I'm not sure. But he said he bought it prior to their marriage. So, all right. It says prior to the marriage, the petitioner purchased her own home, which is located in Gwinnett County, Georgia. After petitioner filed the instant divorce action, she abandoned the marital residence and began living somewhere else. The husband and his minor children remain living in the marital residence. The husband continues to maintain payments to the marital residence, including all the expenses and upkeep. Husband requests that until such time that there has been an entry of a final judgment and decree of divorce resolving the issues in this action, this court maintains the status quo of allowing him to remain in the marital residence with his minor children so that he and the minor children are not displaced. Just my own opinion, I feel like you then should not have put that so blatantly in the prenup that she stays and you go. Why would you put that in the prenup knowing you have minor children? And that, that's the whole point of that. So why would you put that in there then? Respondent further requests that the court allows the wife to keep exclusive use and possession of her home in Gwinnett County, Georgia during the pendency of this divorce. Respondent states that the parties signed a prenup dated November 17th, 2022. Upon information and belief, the petitioner wife did not enter into the prenup in good faith or with an intention to remain in the marriage with her husband long term. That's the point of the prenup. Don't put that in there then. Respondent states that additional information is needed through discovery to help this court determine the circumstances under which the parties entered into the contract, the validity of the prenup agreement, the interpretation of the prenup agreement, the parties' intent, the conscionability of the prenup, and the enforceability of the prenup. In the event the court enforces the terms of the prenup, whether in whole or in part, the interpretation of the prenup will remain an issue for adjudication by this court. To the extent that any party of the prenup is deemed unenforceable, the respondent requests an equitable division of all marital property, assets, and debts in accordance with Georgia law. To the extent that any part of the prenup is deemed unenforceable, the respondent requests that this court awards him the separate property, assets, and homes that he had prior to marrying the petitioner. The respondent hereby places petitioner on notice that OCGA states, pending final determination by the court of the right of either party to alimony, neither party shall make any substantial change in the assets of the party's estate except in the course of ordinary business affairs and except for bona fide transfers for value. Respondent incorporates by reference the notice to preserve evidence and spoliation notice to petitioner that was filed with this court on March 25th, 2024, and demands petitioner's strict compliance thereto. Count 3, restraining order. Let me go ahead and highlight that for later. So I remember hearing about this. Restraining order. Okay. Respondent reasserts on February 22nd, 2024, this court issued a court order, amended automatic domestic standing order that states each party is enjoined and restrained from doing any act injuring, maltreating, vilifying, threatening, molesting, or harassing the adverse party, the children of the parties, or a family member of the adverse party. Respondent requests that this court exercises its equitable powers to enter a restraining order against petitioner wife that expounds on the terms of the standing order to prevent respondent from certain actions as outlined in the motion for temporary relief, possession of marital residence, restraining order, and motion for contempt that respondent filed with this court on March 25th, 2024. Count 4, attorney's fees and litigation expenses. It has been necessary for the respondent to hire an attorney to defend this action against the petitioner. Respondent requests that this court enters an order requiring petitioner to pay respondent's attorney's fees and litigation expenses pursuant to any legal grounds or statutes, including OCGA 9-15-14 or any other statute that becomes applicable. And I know that's standard. I know everybody's going to ask for their attorney's fees. It is interesting because if you're getting a divorce, I don't know. It just seems like it should be on your side. But I know everybody's always going to ask for their attorney's fees to be paid. And yes, please hit the like button. Thank you. Wherefore, respondent prays for the following relief: that this court awards husband a total divorce from wife, that this court determines the legalities of the parties' prenup as requested herein, that this court awards husband an equitable division of real and personal property as requested herein, that this court awards husband his separate property and homes, that this court awards husband exclusive use and possession of the marital residence on a temporary and permanent basis, that this court awards wife her separate home in Gwinnett County, Georgia, during the pendency of this divorce, that this court enters a restraining order against the wife as requested, that this court awards husband reasonable attorney's fees and expenses of litigation, that the rule nisi issue requiring the wife to appear and show cause why the relief demanded by the husband should not be granted, and that process issue as provided by law. That was the 27th day of March 2024. Okay. Now we go to March 28th, 2024. And this is a notice to produce to Porsha Williams. Let me see. Okay, good. All right. So Simon's legal team is requesting a notice to produce, and it says, you are hereby notified to produce the following documents at the hearing scheduled for Thursday, April 4th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Okay, and I'm going to skim some of this because it's a lot of descriptions of what these things are, but let's see here. Hold on. Let me see. Ooh, Lord. Okay. So all documents in any form, they want them when they're requesting that. I'm just going to say that because this is too much. They got microfilm and everything in here. Okay. Objections based on privilege. In the event that any information, documents, or things requested herein is withheld under a claim of privilege, please provide the following information with respect to each: the type of information, document, thing, general subject matter, the place, and the appropriate date it was gathered, learned, prepared, or created, name, address, phone number, and title of each person to whom such information has been communicated by the responding party. A statement of the circumstances on whether or not the claim of privilege is appropriate, the basis upon which such privilege is claimed, and whether the privilege that is claimed should extend to all or to just a part of the information, document, or thing. More definitions. Documents and items to produce. Okay, this is what Simon wants Porsha to produce: a copy of your passport and a copy of every single page in your passport book, a copy of any and all transactions, purchases, receipts, or proof of payments to any hotels or motels by you or any agent acting on your behalf from January 1st, 2024 to the present, a copy of any invoices, receipts, contracts, memos, agreements, or other documentation evidencing that you have hired personal security bodyguards to include their contact information from January 1st, 2024 to the present, a copy of any recordings, video, and audio that you have in your possession or control of the marital residence and any activity therein or around the marital residence from February 2024 to the present. Any and all contracts, memos of understanding, and agreements, including any amendments between True Entertainment, LLC, and Porsha Diane Williams from 2022 through the present. And True Entertainment, I believe that's who does the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think that's the production company or something. I'm pretty sure. I know y'all are going to tell me. Any and all communications, including text, email, or written communications between True Entertainment or any individual or agent acting on its behalf, and Porsha Diane Williams or any agent acting on her behalf regarding your return and participation as a cast member to the Real Housewives of Atlanta television show from 2022 through to the present. Any and all communications, including text, email, or written communications between True Entertainment or any individual or agent acting on its behalf, and Porsha Diane Williams or any agent acting on her behalf regarding the following topics: your relationship with Simon, your divorce against Simon, any prenup agreement involving Porsha and Simon, filming, recording, taping, photography, and or production at the marital residence, storylines, subjects, and or topics for Porsha regarding the Real Housewives of Atlanta television show. Young Black Economist says she didn't love me long enough. That's against the prenup, right? Yes. And I definitely think Simon wants to see the communications between Porsha and Real Housewives of Atlanta, True Entertainment, because maybe like obviously the incentive, the bonus, the pay raise might come from the fact that she may have something really, really good to, juicy to show between her and Simon. But I don't know how they word that, and I don't know if that would help him. But I definitely think he wants to see how much of her storyline, her contract, depended on her filming with him or about him. How is Simon raising minor children when he is always gone somewhere? Right. I don't know. And then I thought it was even complained against him that he don't really be caring for his children from his other marriages like that. I thought that was one of the things, but it is what it is. Jay Taylor got me saying, and I know Glorilla said it, but and then I heard Chef say it this morning too. But at the end of the day gotta end. And that's all I think now. At the end of the day gotta end. So copies of any and all photographs, videos, recordings, tapings, footage, or filming in your possession or control of the marital residence since February 22nd, 2024 to the present date. Any and all communications between Porsha and Kelvin from 2021 through to the present date. Kelvin Owusu Ansah. Any and all communications between Porsha and Lauren Williams, which would be her sister, from 2021 through to the present date. Who's Kelvin, y'all? Who's Kelvin Owusu Ansah? Any and all communications between Porsha and Karen McKinney from 2021 through to the present date. Any and all communications between petitioner and respondent. Any and all recordings and audio that you have in your possession or control of the respondent. Any and all financial documents, pay devices, W-2s, 1099s, tax documents, etc., issued to you and or an entity business on your behalf from 2022 through to the present, this 28th day of March 2024. Okay. So now this is Porsha's response to Simon's answer and defenses and counterclaim for divorce. Reply to answer. Wife replies to paragraph 2 of husband's answer to clarify that paragraph 2 of wife's complaint for divorce did not include any allegations that husband fled the United States and merely advised that in the event husband did not acknowledge service, that he would be served as provided by law. Wife replies to paragraph 3 to state that the parties had a traditional Nigerian ceremony on November 25th, 2022, and had a formal wedding on November 26th, 2022, at which time the marriage certificate was executed. Paragraph 4, husband's answer does not require a reply. Paragraph 5, husband's answer does not require a reply. Wife replies to paragraph 6 that although the prenup agreement was executed on November 17th, 2022, its terms and provisions were contemplated and extensively negotiated for months prior to its execution. Okay, that's context. Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that for later. Paragraph 7 of husband's answer does not require a reply. Paragraph 8 does not require a reply. Paragraph 9 and 10 do not require a reply. Wife replies to paragraph 11 of husband's answer to deny that husband made any good faith attempts through the attorneys to privately resolve the issues in this divorce amicably with petitioner wife to no avail. Instead, husband effectively demanded that wife agree to his request to modify the prenup, allowing him to remain in the marital residence. Wife further shows that husband's demand cannot be properly described as a good faith attempt, as it was issued on a Friday evening, less than 1 week prior to husband's deadline to vacate, and demanded that wife provide a favorable response by the next business day. 1 second, y'all. Wife replies to paragraph 12 of husband's answer to clarify that wife agrees that she should be responsible for her reasonable and necessary attorney's fees in initiating the instant action, but shows that husband should be solely responsible for all fees incurred by wife for having to defend herself against husband's unreasonable, unjustified, improper actions since wife's filing. Okay, so she's saying, I know when I file, that's me, I got to pay those. But if you start bringing up stuff that I have to defend myself against that is unreasonable, I want you to pay my attorney's fees. And I think he kind of filed the same language as well. Cece says, I hope Porsha had the house swept for video and audio devices and changed the security system's billing, access, and passwords. We shall see. We shall see. Brenda said Porsha thought she had a winner. And that is so, like, as much as Porsha seems like she knows survival, I'm like, how do you think Simon was a winner, even a temporary winner? Like, how? Wife does not have sufficient knowledge to admit or deny the allegations contained in paragraph 1 of husband's counterclaim for divorce and does not require a reply from wife. Okay, she admits to paragraph 2, 3, 4, and 5. Paragraph 6 of husband's counterclaim does not require a response from wife as it contains husband's prayer for relief. To the extent that a response is required, wife admits that the marriage is irretrievably broken. Wife reasserts the aforementioned paragraphs as if fully stated herein. Wife admits in part the allegations contained in paragraph 8 to the extent that the marital residence was purchased prior to the parties' marriage. Okay, she acknowledges the marital residence was purchased prior to the parties' marriage. I feel that she's still standing on the fact that, but still in the prenup, is still identified as the marital residence address, and it says that she can stay and he has to vacate. Wife admits allegations contained in paragraph 9 and 10 of husband's counterclaim. Wife admits in part the allegations contained in paragraph 9 of husband's counterclaim to the extent that, upon information and belief, husband has continued to maintain payments to the marital residence. Paragraph 12 does not require a response from wife as it contains husband's prayer for relief. Paragraph 13 does not require a response from wife. Wife admits the allegations contained in paragraph 14. Wife denies the allegations contained in paragraph 15 of husband's counterclaim. By way of further response, wife directs the court's attention to Mallon versus Mallon, wherein the Supreme Court of Georgia, in deciding that prenuptial agreement should not be considered void as against public policy, ruled that when judging the validity of a prenup agreement, the court does not need to consider whether a party acted in the utmost good faith. In Mallon, the prenup agreement was held to be enforceable. A brief summary of the facts of Mallon as taken verbatim from the opinion to demonstrate the extremely low threshold for enforceability of prenup follows. Hey, my sweet sis. At issue in this appeal from a judgment and decree of divorce is the trial court's decision to enforce a prenup agreement between the parties. Catherine, wife, and Peter, husband, Mallon, had lived together unmarried for about 4 years when wife got pregnant in 1985. While she was at a clinic to terminate the pregnancy, husband called to ask her not to have the termination and to marry him, to both of which requests she agreed. A few days later, 9 or 10 days before their planned wedding, husband asked wife to sign a prenup agreement prepared by his attorney. Wife contends husband told her the agreement was just a formality and he would always take care of her. She took the agreement to an attorney who she claims the husband paid, who advised her that he did not have time to fully examine it in the days remaining before the wedding. Wife did not consult another attorney or postpone the wedding, but spoke and met with husband and his counsel about the agreement more than once. She agreed to sign it after a life insurance benefit was increased and the alimony provisions were modified to provide for increases for each year of the marriage. The agreement provided that in the event of a divorce, wife would receive a basic alimony amount to be adjusted for the number of years of marriage, and assets would belong to whomever owned the property originally or received it during the marriage. At the time the agreement was executed, wife had a high school education and was working as a restaurant hostess, while husband had a college degree and owned and operated a business. Wife had a net worth. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, I have to yawn. So sorry. Wife had a net worth of approximately $10,000, and husband's net worth at the time of the agreement's execution was at least $8,500,000. The record shows that husband's net worth as of 2002 appeared to be approximately $22,700,000. After 18 years of marriage and the birth of 4 children, husband filed an action for divorce in 2003 and sought to enforce the prenup agreement. The trial court held the prenup agreement enforceable and incorporated that holding in its final judgment ruling, in accordance with the agreement, that the wife was entitled to $2,900 per month in alimony for 4 years, and husband was entitled to all the assets with which he entered the marriage. and all assets accumulated during the marriage. Wife denied. So basically, Porsha is saying the intent of the prenup. Her team is saying the intent of the prenup does not matter. It needs to be enforced because good faith does not matter with the prenup because the courts expect you to, have it reviewed by your counsel of choice and everything like that. So that's why she's referring to Malin and Malin. Okay, and it says, wife denies the allegations contained in paragraph 16 of husband's counterclaim. By way of further response, the court does not need to determine the circumstances under which the parties entered into the contract, the validity of the prenup agreement, the interpretation of the prenup agreement, the parties' intent, the conscionability of the prenup agreement, and the enforceability of the prenup agreement, which explicitly provides the parties further agree that this prenup agreement is valid and enforceable in any matrimonial action that may hereafter be commenced by either party, and the provisions of this agreement shall be binding upon them in any such action. The parties agree to execute any documents necessary to incorporate the provisions of this agreement into such a decree or order. Wife denies the allegations contained in paragraph 17. Paragraph 18 does not require a response from wife. Paragraph 19 does not require a response from wife. Paragraph 20, 21 do not require a response from wife. Wife reasserts the aforementioned paragraphs as if fully stated herein. Wife denies the allegations contained in paragraph 23 of husband's counterclaim. Paragraph 24 of husband's counterclaim does not require a response from wife as it contains husband's prayer for relief. To the extent that a response is required, wife shows that husband's prayers for relief should be denied in their entirety, including any prayers for relief outlined within husband's motion for temporary relief, possession of marital residence, restraining order, and motion for contempt filed on March 25th, 2024. Wife reasserts the aforementioned paragraphs as if fully stated herein. Paragraph 26 of husband's counterclaim does not require a response from wife as it contains husband's prayer for relief. Wife shows that husband's answer, defenses, and counterclaim for divorce appears to hedge on whether the prenup agreement is enforceable. To that end, wife alerts and directs the court to sharer versus sharer, where the court, in support of its ruling that prenup agreements in contemplation of divorce were not absolutely void as against public policy, and in fact favored by the state, the court cited to the advent of no-fault divorce laws and other changes in society, especially as it related to evolving gender norms. The court, in support of its ruling, cited to valid versus valid, accepting the following as its own ruling. It is often declared that the state has a vital interest in the maintenance of the family, but this interest does not require that persons once married must live together forever without regard to the breakdown of their relationship. The necessity of granting divorces is recognized, and the grounds upon which one can be granted are expanding. Where no minor children are involved and where the husband and wife can function in society separately and independently, the interest of the state in the continuance of the marriage is small. The most frequent argument made for holding antenuptial agreements in contemplation of divorce invalid is that such agreements encourage or incite divorce or separation. There is little empirical evidence to show that this assertion is well-founded. It may be equally cogently argued that a contract which defines the expectations and responsibilities of the parties promotes rather than reduces marital stability. It would be anomalous to hold that the parties cannot plan and agree on a course of action in the event that the marriage is unsuccessful and ends in divorce. Particularly is this true where the parties are older and where there is little danger that either party would be without support. The incidence of divorce in this country is increasing, and consequently more persons with families and established wealth are in a position to consider the possibility of a marriage later in life. Public policy is not violated by permitting these persons prior to marriage to anticipate the possibility of divorce and to establish their rights by contract in such an event as long as the contract is entered with full knowledge and without fraud, duress, or coercion. Wife requests that husband be ordered to pay her reasonable attorney's fees and expenses of litigation that wife has been forced to incur in connection with defending herself against husband's efforts to intentionally undermine, violate, and contest the parties' prenup agreement pursuant to the parties' prenup agreement. That wife prays that husband's answers, defenses, and counterclaim for divorce be denied, and that she be granted such other relief as this court deems just and equitable under the circumstances. and respectfully submitted this 3rd day of April 2024. So I love, okay, Porsha's team is setting the cases together. Come on, Porsha's team. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like, just because a prenup was established, that's to be practical, not to be malicious necessarily. And his counsel drafted the prenup. Oh my gosh. Oh, Tasha said, "Good morning, Training. The super trailer is out for Love and Marriage Huntsville." Okay. I was getting out of Chef's thing. I think that must have been the audio he was listening to. I'm going to have to do a separate video with that one and my reaction to it. Thank you very, very much for the updates. Okay. So then we go to April 3rd, 2024. So Porsha filed hers April 3rd, 2024 at 4:04 p.m. Simon filed his response the same day at 7:38 p.m. Now, I'm not going to repeat his other things. We're going to go to these affidavits that he's referring to, because the affidavits got a little tea in them, y'all. I was skimming. Okay, so we're going to read the affidavits of Da Silva and the Graham. It was somebody else. We got Da Silva and where's the other one at? Do I need to open it? Did I not open it? I'll find the other affidavit, but one of them is Da Silva. Okay. And I'm going to skip because he's going to keep denying a lot. And I want to go to, let's see. Yeah, he's still repeating that he wants that house, but you put that house in the prenup. That's on you. Okay, let me see here. Okay, I don't know about Simon's counsel. I feel like they might be wasting his money a little bit, because they just cited in theirs 2 cases where the prenup agreement, it is what it is, basically, as long as there's no fraud or duress and stuff like that, right? So his counsel entering this as their answer seems to be wasting some of his money, in my opinion, because they're saying that there has been no court order entered determining the validity, enforceability, or interpretation of the parties' prenup agreement. But all right. I know they got to keep delaying and prolonging. It is what it is. But I'm like, I don't know. I need my counsel to come back and state some cases that are in my favor. Give me some precedented cases too. Like, don't just keep saying the same thing you said in the counterclaim. Okay. And then down here, let's see. The wife has been living somewhere else outside the marital residence over the past 30 days by her own choosing. Moreover, wife has the option to live comfortably in her $1.8 million home located in Gwinnett County, Georgia, where she has been the sole owner since 2016. I mean, she has the option, but your prenup says she can stay in the marital residence, so it don't matter. Your counsel put that in there. That's what's boggling my mind. So your counsel wasted your money a few times, in my opinion. Let's see. He moves to strike allegations in paragraph 3. Let's see here. He's saying he attempted to resolve the issue with her, but I agree that you can't resolve the issue right before the deadline comes up for you to vacate the home, and then you want to respond a business day after you try to do a modification. Like, that's not reasonable. Okay. I'll keep going. He's moving to strike. Okay, Da Silva and Garland are the 2 affidavits. I got to find Garland because I definitely have Garland. I just don't know if I opened it or not. Like, if I have it up here, but I have it though. So this was their response on April 3rd as well. So let's get into Da Silva's affidavit, and then we're going to get into, let me see if I have Garland. Hold on one second. Let me get that one open. If you're coming in, I'm looking for Garland's affidavit that, I hate that my screen's doing this stupid thing where it's going off and on. This is not the time. Y'all probably can't see it on your end, but my screen, it's going dark for no reason. And I hate it. Hate it. I'm gonna have to call Mr. Trendon in here to tell me what the heck is going on and why is it doing that. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so affidavit of Da Silva is up first. Okay, so here is the witness affidavit of, Da Silva. Personally appeared before the undersigned and notary public. I am blank de Silva. I am of legal age, under no legal disability, and make this affidavit upon my knowledge of the facts. I know Porsha and Simon. I have been working for Simon Guabadia since May 2020 before he got married to Porsha. I started off working for him part-time, and then I began working full-time before he started dating Porsha. I would always help take care of Simon's kids. When Porsha and her daughter Pilar came into his life, I would help watch her daughter as well. I would help take Porsha's daughter and Simon's 2 sons to school. While the kids are at school, I work around the house as the house manager. I was in charge of managing things around the home, taking care of the kids, overseeing the vendors, and anything else that needed to be done. I work every day at the marital residence. Some days I work 10 to 11 hours in a day, and some days I spend the night at the home, depending on what needs to be done. I am always around. I have traveled many times with Porsha and Simon out of the country. I went so many places with them, including Europe, Costa Rica, and Mexico. The Guabadia kids and Porsha's daughter would be with us as well. I am with them all the time. There was even a time when I traveled to Paris with Porsha, Porsha's daughter, and Simon. Simon is such a good man. He's a good man, Savannah. I have never seen him be violent or angry at all. He is very mild-mannered and just a nice guy. On February 22nd, 2024, Porsha reached out to me and asked me if I could stay in the house a little later. She asked if I can come to the house around 4 p.m. and stay until 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. I told her that I would just sleep over at the house since I have to take the boys to school in the morning around 7 a.m. I was in the guest room that night. Porsha came to me and said happy birthday because it was my birthday that day, and she gave me flowers and talked to me. Then she left the house that evening and never came back. The next day, on February 23rd, 2024, my phone started blowing up with people wondering what was going on. When the news came out about the divorce, I had no idea. I had to stay with the Guabadia boys that day, February 23rd, 2024, because Porsha left the night before and did not come back to the house. And if you're just coming in, Porsha filed for divorce on February 22nd, 2024 at 7:30-ish p.m. at night. And she said, Porsha left the night before and did not come back to the house, and I could not leave the boys alone. Their father was traveling for work, and Porsha did not come back to the house. I could not go home to my house from Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, until Monday, February 26th, 2024, because Porsha left the marital residence without telling me, and it was the week Simon's children were at the house. Simon returned to the house surprised of the divorce and without help from his wife with the children. I remember the first time that Porsha came back to the house after she filed for a divorce. It was about 2 weeks later. On that day, Simon was working in his office. Porsha parked the car outside the house. I did not know she was coming with a guy that day. Simon asked me, can you go and open the door for Porsha and ask her what she needs and whether she needs to come inside the house? I went outside to meet Porsha and I said, Simon is asking, do you need to come inside the house to get something? And Porsha said that she does not need to answer anything. And then she went inside the house with the security guy who had a pow-pow. When she came inside the house, she came with a guy who had his pow-pow showing. The man was a big guy who was walking like a bad guy. I did not know that Porsha was coming with a guy. This was out of nowhere. I had never seen the guy before. The guy was inside the house sitting on the stairs with the pow-pow showing. It was shocking to me. I was concerned. Simon called the police. The police came to the house. The security that had already been working at the marital residence every day came back over to the house as well. The police met and spoke with everyone and then left. When Simon's sons came home from school that day, I saw them observing the guy sitting on the stairs with his pow-pow. The guy was sitting out in the open on the stairs inside the house with the pow-pow showing. The children made some statements to me about the guy's presence, but I tried my best to explain it away to make sure that they remained calm. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. After a few hours, Porsha left the house that night with the guy around midnight. She did not stay. It was not necessary to bring a security man with a pow-pow inside the house because they already have a security team at the marital residence that watches the house every day during the nighttime. Also, I am always at the house during the day managing the home. It is not typical for security to come inside the house with a pow-pow. I'm gonna tell you right now. If I was Porsha and I'm blindsiding Simon with this divorce, I'm bringing somebody just in case he show up and pop off. Because you can be as gentle as you want to be every other day, but then when you feel like I'm either making you look like a fool or whatever else, let's not act like people don't resort to violin, and y'all know what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm coming. Now I would try not to scare the two sons and maybe, you know, explain to them like, hey, he's not gonna hurt y'all. It's not like that. This is my friend or blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm keeping something on me if I'm blindsiding you. And again, my thing is for me, although I don't ever understand why she even married him in the first place, when those two lawsuits came out against Simon, not lawsuits, one was a lawsuit and one was the termination of his citizenship, I'll be like, you know what? I'm out. You probably didn't need much excuse anyway, but yeah, I'm out and I don't want to talk to you. You're just gonna see it when it come out in the paperwork. It is what it is, and I'm not. And look, we can feel differently, but I'm telling you now. One, I would not be married to somebody who look like Simon. I just would not. Okay, not with his personality, his scammy ways, and everything else. It would not happen. But I'm not telling you nothing. I'm definitely bringing somebody in case you try to show your behind, because I definitely did just blindside you with this divorce. It says Porsha came back to the house another time and left with suitcases. She did not come back to the house for about another 2 weeks. Then on another day when she came to the house, she came and brought a man who opened the front gate. After that, I was with the children by myself in the house, and I did not feel comfortable being alone, not knowing if another man would come to the house, so Simon changed the garage door code and front door lock. On March 20th, 2024, I received a voicemail message from a lady named Miss James, who identified herself as Miss Williams' attorney. The voicemail stated that she wanted to make sure I would be out of Simon's house by Friday, March 22nd, 2024 at 8:30 p.m. The last time that Porsha came to the house, she did not leave. This was on Sunday, March 24th, 2024. She came with a guy to open the gate again. She came with her daughter, her mother, and her mother's boyfriend. She was bringing her stuff back to the house. The same guy opened the gate. Then they started searching the house, went downstairs, and disconnected the cameras around the house. The cameras are not working. This makes me uncomfortable because I am with the kids by myself as their nanny when their father is away at work. This is what I'm gonna say about that timeline of her coming back on the 24th. Simon, per the prenup, had until March 22nd to vacate the house. So Porsha's probably not going to be in that house until he was supposed to vacate that house anyway. That's how I see this timeline. There's no reason I wouldn't be there until he was supposed to be out, according to the prenup. I do feel bad for the nanny. I am going to say that. The foregoing statements are true and correct and based upon my personal knowledge of the facts, and I authorize its use for any and all purposes allowed by Georgia law. Okay. Then this is the affidavit of Garland. It says, my name is blank Garland, but people call me blank. I have a private security company and I am a weapons training instructor. I am a veteran, having served in the U.S. Army as a combat engineer. Okay. Hoorah. I spent 8 years active duty. Or is it HUA? Is it HUA? HUA for Army or hoorah? I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm Air Force. I'm sorry. Don't beat me up. But he's a veteran in the U.S. Army as a combat engineer. It says, I spent 8 years active duty. I have done private security all over the world. I provide executive protection services. I know Porsha Diane Williams before Porsha and Simon got married. I have personally provided security detail for Porsha once before when I personally escorted her alone to an event. I have escorted both Porsha and Simon to events to provide personal security. I began providing security services for both Simon and Porsha beginning March 1st, 2023, when I started officially guarding their marital residence. I'm at the house every day. I come in the evenings to guard the house and leave the next day. One night, I saw Porsha leave in the middle of the night with one of Simon's Rolls Royces. She did not return to the house before my shift ended at 7 a.m. That same morning is when I later saw on social media that a divorce had been filed. On March 8th, 2024, I got off of work that morning. I received a call from Simon about a man being at the house with a pow-pow with Porsha and the police being there. I got dressed and rushed to the marital residence to see what was going on. When I arrived at the house, I met Porsha, Simon, the police, and the guy that came with Porsha. Prior to that day, I did not know that he provided private security for Porsha. I had never seen the guy at the house before. Simon told the police that he did not feel comfortable with the security guy being in the house with his pow-pow and asked for the police to remain present until I arrived. When I arrived at the marital residence, we all met and talked, and then the police left. Later that night, Porsha packed up and left. On that day, March 8th, 2024, Simon was no threat to Porsha or anyone, nor was I a threat to anyone. Simon is a businessman. He is always very professional and kind. I have never seen him act out of pocket or be disrespectful to Porsha, let alone anyone. I have never seen him be violent or even argue with anyone. I am of legal age, under no legal disability, and make this affidavit upon my knowledge of the facts. The foregoing statements are true and correct based upon my personal knowledge of the facts, and I authorize its use for any and all purposes allowed by Georgia law. Hua. Thank you, 41 Fit. Whispering Moment said Porsha finally did something right and brought her own security. Yes. And I'd say it is not as a meant to me as an insult to the person Garland that did this affidavit. Oh, hold on. I gotta tell Mr. Trenton about my screen going black. Hold on, y'all. I'll come back to the part where I'm saying about it's not a slight to the security guard in my opinion. I'll come back. Hold on. All right, he already on it. All right, so and the reason I say this is because he has to remain under Simon's employ. He is not Portia's security guard necessarily. Like now, she got the benefit of him, but if I'm coming and making sure that I can gather my things without any issues, I need a third party security. I just do because, like he said, he guards the marital residence. He is there to stay with that marital residence and probably as part of Simon's employ. So I would bring a third party as well. I would, as a woman that don't know how you're gonna act, and she just blindsided that man. I definitely would do that. Yep, shout out to Mr. Trendon. 41 Fist said, shout out to Mr. Trendon. Thank you, Cece. I definitely appreciate that. She said, shout out to all the veterans in the chat. Okay, so then, is this the same thing? Hold on. Okay, so this is the respondent's objection. So Simon's objection to Porsha's proposed temporary order. So that's what this is now. On April 4th, 2024 at 2:35 p.m., counsel for petitioner submitted a proposed temporary order to this court via email following the 30-day status conference. At 3:59 p.m., counsel for respondent, which is Simon's counsel, submitted an email with objections to the draft of the proposed order and submitted respondent's proposed draft for the court's consideration. As the court noted at the onset of the hearing, the court did not schedule the April 4th, 2024 proceeding for a full evidentiary hearing, but as a status conference. With the exception of the temporary occupancy of the marital residence and payment of the same, the respondent, Simon, objects to the adjudication of the additional issues listed in paragraph 1 of petitioner's proposed order, as there was no indication included in the 30-day status hearing notice that an evidentiary hearing would occur on April 4th on those issues. No witnesses were sworn in, no testimony was taken from the parties, and no evidence was offered or tendered. The issuance of a notice titled Notice of Hearing with only a Zoom link and no further details or information as to the matters to be heard at the 30-day is not adequate notice that a hearing will be held on issues that do not appear in the record, issues that were never pled, and issues that were not noticed before this court. There was no pleading filed in the record to place the parties on notice that a hearing will be held at the 30-day status regarding Bravo, any non-parties, any cease and desist communications, confidentiality issues, or any filming recording in the marital residence. Respondent objects to an adjudication of those issues without proper notice, due process, and opportunity to present evidence and be heard regarding the same. Okay? And then this is the last thing that was filed that I saw so far. April 16th, 2024, this was filed. It says notice of videotape deposition of True Entertainment LLC. Okay. Please take notice that respondent Simon Guabadia, by and through his counsel of record, Onyema A. Ferry, Esquire, will take the videotape deposition upon oral examination of a representative of True Entertainment LLC commencing on May 20th, 2024, beginning at 10 a.m. Said deposition shall be conducted by stenographic means, audio means, and audio and video means. Should the deponent desire to appear by remote electronic means on the aforementioned date and time, please contact the undersigned counsel for respondent immediately so that those arrangements may be made pursuant to the statute. The deposition will be held before a person duly authorized by law to administer oaths and take depositions. This deposition will be taken for the preservation of testimony for discovery purposes and any and all uses allowed by the Georgia Civil Practice Act. In accordance with OCGA, the designated deponent is also hereby directed and required to produce the documents and things contained within the accompanying subpoena for deposition that are described in Exhibit A attached hereto. True Entertainment LLC shall designate one or more officers, directors, or managing agents or other persons who consent to testify on its behalf regarding matters known or reasonably available to the organization regarding the following: the status of Porsha Williams as a cast member for the Real Housewives of Atlanta for the years 2022, 23, 24, and 25. The details of the financial pay, income, and financial status of Porsha for the years 2022, 23, 24, and 25. The communications between True Entertainment LLC or any individual or agent acting on its behalf and Porsha Diane Williams or any agent acting on her behalf regarding Porsha Diane Williams' return as a cast member to the Real Housewives of Atlanta television show from 2022 through to the present. The communications between True Entertainment LLC and Porsha Williams regarding any of the following topics: her relationship with Simon, her divorce against Simon, the prenup agreement involving Porsha and Simon, filming, recording, taping, photography, and production at the property located, storylines, subjects, and or topics involving Porsha regarding the Real Housewives of Atlanta television show, the existence of the documents requested herein, the completeness of the documents produced, the authenticity of the documents produced, all documents consulted, referred to, or otherwise utilized in any way in connection with the preparation of the designated representative's deposition. Respectfully submitted this 16th day of April 2024. Okay. The nanny did not say that she left Pilar there. In her affidavit, the nanny said she was left with the two sons. That's what the nanny put. Kat said, unpopular opinion, but I'm sad for Porsha. Fallon was never her friend, so it is what it is with her. Personally, I've never been one, but I admire women who marry men for money. I marry for love. Yeah, but Kat, you gotta do your research if you're gonna marry men for money, because he's a scanner, he's a track star. See, he gonna get to go with it. Simon ain't got no real money, in my opinion. That's totally my opinion. I think that man's a scanner. Per just this ain't gonna be the only lawsuit against him, but the net just is a perfect example of how I don't believe Simon be having money for real, for real. He had a timeshare in a private jet, and he was not paying for that timeshare like-esque thing that he had going on with them. So, I did read it, Gwen. It's in there. I did read Cassie's filing. We did. It was obviously a lot of trigger warnings, but I read it. Let's see. Cece said Porsha filed to prevent Simon taking any of her Real Housewives of Atlanta funds and to not be liable for his bills. I agree. Okay, I agree. What happens if his citizenship is denied again? Deportation, how would that affect Porsha? Honestly, since Porsha's trying to divorce him, his deportation ain't going to affect her at all. And he's denied, so I don't know. I think they already denied his appeal. I thought that's what this was. And they denied his because he tried to reopen it and they denied it again. Kat said, Trending, you got a point. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it right now. Okay, y'all, I gotta go, but I'll be back today with some more court stuff. So I'll see you soon. Please keep your notifications on and check back, because YouTube is gonna be a hater and it's not gonna tell you that I am live. Rhonda says she agrees Simon has no money. Yes, Rhonda, it's monopoly money. I'm sorry, you can't tell me nothing else, because even if he proves he has some money, it's temporary to me, and I feel like it was a robbing Peter to pay Paul situation. I have started to call Simon the Nigerian version of Peter Thomas, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I can't take him seriously. No finances for him. I can't take him seriously. I'll forever think it's just a court case away from pointing out that it was some kind of scam, just a scam. And we say scam because it's a love and marriage Huntsville thing. But yeah, instead of scam, we just say scam. But yeah. All right, y'all. I have to go for now, but I'm going to see you again later today. I told you, I'm gonna catch up on these court cases. So I will see you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.
I've been taking my time, I've been taking my time. Taking all of your time, taking all of your time.